If a Florida local tells you to stay away from the swamp at night, you listen. While tourists are completely clueless, there are 11 dangerous beasts prowling the dark waters right now that can turn a vacation into a nightmare. Here are the hidden predators locals are desperately warning you about. Number 11. The coral snake small, colorful, and easy to mistake for a harmless king snake. That single mistake has killed people. The coral snake carries one of the most potent neurotoxic venoms in North America, strong enough to shut down breathing before a victim even realizes how serious the bite really is. Unlike a rattlesnake, it gives no warning, no rattle, no hiss, no defensive display. It simply strikes, chews briefly to inject venom, and disappears back into the leaf litter. Symptoms can take hours to show up, which means by the time the slurred speech and drooping eyelids start, the venom is already deep in the nervous system. Locals have a rhyme drilled into them since childhood for a reason. Red touches yellow, kill a fellow. Red touches black, friend of Jack. Get the pattern wrong in dim swamp light, and you won't get a second chance to double-check. Coral snakes are shy and rarely bite unless handled or stepped on directly. But that's exactly the problem. They hide under logs, leaf piles, and loose debris right where barefoot tourists like to explore after dark. Because the venom works slowly, victims sometimes feel completely fine at first and even walk away from the encounter, only to collapse hours later once breathing muscles begin to fail. That delay is exactly why paramedics in rural swamp counties treat every reported coral snake bite as a life-threatening emergency, even when the patient insists they feel okay. Number 10. The cottonmouth. Also called the water moccasin, this snake doesn't flee from danger. It stands its ground and dares you to come closer. It swims with its head above the surface, and when threatened, it opens its jaw wide to flash the white cotton lining that gives it its name, a warning display no other water snake in Florida performs. It's aggressive, territorial, and coils up in the exact same murky banks and fallen logs where tourists like to dip their feet at dusk or set up a lakeside campsite. Its venom is hemotoxic, meaning it destroys blood cells and surrounding tissue on contact rather than attacking the nervous system. Every year, cottonmouth bites send people to the ER with swelling that can double the size of a limb and tissue damage that sometimes requires surgery. They're also strong swimmers capable of striking from the water itself, lunging up out of the shallows without ever fully leaving the surface, which catches swimmers completely off guard. Unlike most snakes, cottonmouths don't always retreat when a boat or a person approaches. They've been known to hold their ground on a dock or a log and simply watch, coiled and ready. Locals don't swim where the water goes still and dark, and they never reach into a hollow log or brush pile without checking first. Now you know why. Number 9. The eastern diamondback rattlesnake. The heaviest venomous snake in North America, and it's built like a tank. Some grow past 7 feet long and as thick as a man's forearm, with fangs long enough to punch through a leather boot. It delivers more venom per bite than almost any other snake on the continent, easily enough to kill an adult without immediate antivenom treatment. Despite its size, it's a master of camouflage, blending perfectly into palmetto brush and pine straw right at the swamp's edge. It does rattle as a warning, but by the time you hear it in thick brush, you may already be within striking range. These snakes are ambush hunters, staying coiled motionless in one spot for days at a time, waiting for a rabbit or rat to pass, and that same patience means they won't move out of the way for approaching footsteps the way a fleeing animal would. Their heat-sensing pits let them strike accurately at warm targets, even in total darkness. So poor night vision on your part offers you zero protection. Locals never take the quick shortcut through unmowed brush at night, because that's precisely where a diamondback would be waiting, coiled and silent, completely invisible until it's far too close. Number 8. The bobcat. It looks like an oversized house cat until it opens its mouth and shows the teeth of a real predator. Bobcats are solitary ambush hunters, and after dark they come down to the swamp's edge to hunt anything smaller than themselves, including rabbits, birds, and unfortunately, small pets left unattended near cabins and campsites. Attacks on people are rare, but they do happen, especially when a bobcat is rabid, cornered, or defending kittens. They're incredibly fast over short distances and nearly silent on approach, striking from cover before their target ever registers a threat. A cornered bobcat does not run from a confrontation. It fights, using sharp, retractable claws and a bite that can tear through skin and muscle. Wildlife officials remind visitors that any bobcat acting unusually bold or approaching humans without fear should be treated as a serious warning sign, not a photo opportunity, since that kind of fearlessness is often a sign of rabies or another illness that makes an already sharp-clawed animal even more unpredictable. Number 7. The Florida black bear. Weighing up to 400 pounds, these bears move through swamp forests at night searching for food, and they have learned fast that campsites, coolers, and unsecured trash mean an easy meal. Encounters are climbing every year as their habitat shrinks and tourist traffic pushes deeper into their territory. A black bear won't typically hunt a person as prey, but a startled bear, a mother protecting cubs, or one that has already associated humans with food, will absolutely charge without hesitation. These charges are often bluff charges meant to scare you off, but locals know you can't tell which kind you're facing until it's already happening. The rule they live by: never store food near a tent, never approach a bear or its cubs, and never run if one appears, since running triggers the exact chase instinct that turns a tense standoff into a real attack. Instead, locals back away slowly while making themselves look as large and loud as possible, saving actual defensive tools for the rare case a bear keeps closing the distance instead of retreating. Number 6. The wild boar feral hogs roam Florida's swamps by the hundreds of thousands, and they are far more dangerous than most visitors expect. Armed with sharp, curved tusks and surprisingly aggressive temperaments, boars can charge at over 30 miles an hour and gore anything unlucky enough to be in their path. They travel in groups called sounders. They're most active after dark, and they don't scare easily the way deer or smaller wildlife do. Hunters and wildlife trackers consistently rank feral hogs among the most unpredictable animals in the state, since a boar that feels cornered, is protecting piglets, or has been wounded will not retreat. It will attack, and its tusks can inflict deep puncture wounds in seconds. Locals give any sounder they spot a wide, silent berth, moving well around rather than trying to push past, and they know that piglets squealing nearby almost always mean an angry, overprotective sow is somewhere close behind, ready to charge anything she perceives as a threat. Number 5. The Burmese python. This isn't native to Florida, and that's exactly the problem. Released and escaped pythons have exploded across the Everglades over the past few decades, growing up to 18 feet long and thick enough to swallow deer, alligators, and full-grown raccoons whole. They hunt by ambush, coiling motionless for hours before striking and wrapping around prey in tightening loops that cut off circulation and breathing within minutes. They've decimated entire populations of native rabbits, foxes, and other small mammals across the swamp, throwing the whole ecosystem out of balance. Attacks on humans remain rare, but a python of that size is more than capable of overpowering an adult, and there have been documented cases involving pet owners and even a python capable of consuming prey far larger than most people assume. Wildlife officers now run organized python hunts and bounty programs because the population is completely out of control, and locals treat any thick shape in the brush at night as a python until proven otherwise. What makes them especially unnerving is how well they blend into fallen leaves and shadow, remaining almost invisible even a few feet away, which is why most python encounters happen only when someone is already standing right next to one. Number 4. The bull shark. Most tourists have no idea sharks live this far inland, but bull sharks are uniquely built to handle it. They can tolerate fresh water for extended periods and are known to swim miles up Florida's rivers, canals, and brackish swamp channels that connect back to the coast. They're aggressive, territorial, and responsible for more shark bites on humans worldwide than almost any other species, largely because they frequent the same murky, shallow water where people swim, fish, and wade. Unlike open ocean sharks, bull sharks in swamp channels are often invisible until they're right beside you, since the water is too dark and stirred up to see more than a few inches down. Locals who fish these waterways follow one unbreakable rule: never dangle a hand or foot off the boat or dock in murky water, because you genuinely have no idea what's cruising just beneath the surface, and a bull shark's bite force is more than strong enough to cause life-threatening injury. They're also known for a hit-and-run style attack, striking once and retreating rather than the sustained assaults associated with other shark species, which means a bite can happen and disappear again before anyone even sees what caused it. Number 3. The American crocodile. Rarer and far more aggressive than its alligator cousin, the American crocodile lives in the brackish mangrove swamps of South Florida, tucked into narrow tidal channels where the fresh and salt water meet. It's faster, more powerful, and less predictable than an alligator, with a bite force capable of crushing bone instantly and jaws that snap shut faster than the eye can follow. Unlike alligators, which generally try to avoid humans, crocodiles are statistically more likely to view a person as potential prey rather than a threat to flee from. They're a protected species in Florida, which means their population is slowly recovering and expanding into areas they hadn't occupied in decades, bringing them into closer contact with waterfront homes, docks, and hiking trails. Locals treat every quiet mangrove channel at night as if one could be lurking just beneath the surface, because in South Florida, it very well might be. Their narrower snout, compared to an alligator, is often the only visual clue that tells the two species apart in a split-second glance. And by the time you're close enough to notice that difference, you're already closer than you want to be. Number 2. The Florida panther. An apex predator that moves through the swamp without making a sound. Florida panthers are ambush hunters, capable of taking down deer twice their own size with a single explosive leap from cover, using powerful hind legs and retractable claws that lock onto prey instantly. They're most active at dawn and dusk, exactly when tourists are hiking swamp trails, chasing the perfect sunset shot, or an early morning wildlife photo. With fewer than 200 individuals left in the wild, direct sightings are genuinely rare. But rangers still warn every hiker never to run if one is spotted, and never to hike alone through known panther territory after dark. Running triggers a predator's chase response instantly. A panther that feels cornered, threatened, or mistakes a jogger's fast movement for fleeing prey will not hesitate to close the distance in seconds. And by the time you notice it, it has likely already been watching you for several minutes. Rangers also advise hiking in groups and making noise on the trail, since panthers, like most big cats, prefer an easy, unaware target over any kind of confrontation they can avoid. Number 1. The American alligator, the undisputed king of the swamp and Florida's most infamous resident. Over 1 million alligators live in the state's rivers, canals, and marshes, and they are ambush predators built for exactly one purpose: exploding out of still water before their prey ever knows they're there. They can launch their entire body length out of the water in a fraction of a second, clamp down with one of the strongest bite forces measured in the entire animal kingdom, and drag prey underwater in a spinning death roll designed to disorient and drown. Alligators are most active at night, when their eyes glow a haunting red in flashlight beams, and they patrol the exact same shorelines where tourists like to walk, fish, or let their dogs wander off leash. They're also surprisingly fast on land over short bursts, capable of closing a 10-foot gap before a startled person can even turn around. Locals never approach the water's edge after dark. They never feed them under any circumstance, since a fed alligator quickly loses its fear of people and starts associating humans directly with food. And they always keep dogs on a short leash near any canal or pond, because to a hungry gator, a small dog silhouetted against the water looks exactly like an easy meal. Every local knows the same rule of thumb passed down for generations. If you can see the water, assume something in it can already see you. That's all 11. Every single one of them is out there right now, moving through the dark water while most tourists are asleep in their cabins, completely unaware of what's really living just beyond the porch light. None of them go looking for a fight with a person. Almost every serious encounter on this list happens because someone got too close, moved too fast, or wandered somewhere they shouldn't have after dark. not because these animals hunted a human down. That's exactly why the locals aren't scared of the swamp itself. They're careful around it, and there's a big difference between the two. If you're ever near a Florida swamp after sunset, do exactly what the locals do. Stay on the marked trail, stay well back from the water's edge, keep pets leashed and close, travel with a bright flashlight and a partner, and never assume the swamp is empty just because you can't see what's already watching you. The water that looks calm and still in the moonlight is often the most dangerous water in the entire state, precisely because nothing about the surface gives away what's moving underneath it. So next time someone tells you Florida's swamps are peaceful after dark, you'll know exactly why the locals just smile and shake their heads. Peaceful is exactly how it's supposed to look. That's the whole trick of a swamp. The quiet is never proof that nothing is out there. It's just proof that whatever's out there hasn't decided to move yet. Which of these 11 surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments, because the locals swear at least one name on this list catches every single tourist off guard. And once you know what's really out there after dark, you'll never look at a Florida swamp the same way again. If this kept you on edge, share it with a friend heading to Florida soon. It might just save them from making the one mistake locals never do.